everyone, Valerie here. Today I want to share with you this homeschool year's basically curriculum overview slash review, how we liked it, if it didn't work, stuff like that. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I didn't get any of these books for free, none of that. It's just my honest opinion. This is my second year of homeschooling that we're finishing up for me and all four of our boys. And this is what we have used this year. I'm not going by grade or anything like that because I just kind of have the books like here in a pile. I didn't like separate them out by grade, and I'm not going over every single subject, just what I have here. And if we have any online that I remember, then I will share that as well. So the first book I have here is my 7th grader's science, and we use Apologia, Exploring Creation with General Science. He is almost completely done with this book. He will continue it at the beginning of next year until he finishes out the book, and he'll move on to the next science. We do like the Apologia Sciences, which is why we will be continuing it. They do learn a lot. There's plenty of hands-on activities for them to do, things to try, experiments. We don't do all of them. Many times we don't do any of them for a good gap of a period, and then I'll have them do, an experiment, or some of the smaller experiments, which are called try this. If it catches their interest and they want to do it, I go ahead and let them do it. If it depends on the day, obviously, if we have time that day, but sometimes I'll tell them you can do it this weekend or whatever day if we have more time. But they do seem to enjoy their Apologia Science. For both my 5th and 7th grader, we use for writing this IEW, Rockets, Radar, and Robotics. While they did enjoy this one better than the one they used last year, which was the IEW Ancient History book, they still don't really like it. I don't know if it's just that they just don't like to do the schoolwork, or if it's they were interested in the topics and what they learned in it, but they still hate doing their writing assignment every week. So I tried to get a subject that would interest them, but it didn't really curb that disdain for writing every week. So it's a struggle with them. They do well in it. They're good at it, but they just don't like it. They also share the same grammar, and they're doing the step-by-step grammar. Book 2, last year they did finish book 1, so they continued this, and they are pretty much at the very end of finishing it. I may or may not have them continue it until they complete the entire book at the beginning of next year. They do well in this, but I think it's kind of a little too easy, especially maybe for the 7th grader. This does say that it's for that age group, which covers both of their age groups or grades, but they both seem to get through it very easily, so I'm not sure if it's just review, if it's too easy, if they're not really learning anything new, or they're learning it, but they're learning it so quick that the actual work is so easy. So we are going to try something different for grammar next year. They'll have their own books for grammar at their own levels, and we'll see how that goes. And if they don't like that one, we can always come back. I'm not sure if there's a book 3. I would have to look. Maybe that's why I'm switching it too, because there might not be a book 3. This might be the oldest grammar book in this specific curriculum, the step-by-step grammar. For Spanish, we've continued to use the Pimsleur audio learning system. My husband and I bought it a couple years back before we even considered homeschooling for him and I, and it's completely auditory. You put in the CD and it has 5 sets of 16 lessons in each set. So they're continuing on through that, which is the audio, and it teaches them how to properly pronunciate and say the words or phrases. They don't really learn word for word. But also, to go hand in hand with that, we're using this Basic Structures Spanish book 2, and they go through this very easily as well, even though it is a challenge for them because it doesn't have English and Spanish translations. It has pictures with the Spanish on the bottom, and it'll say like picture A, and then it'll say it in Spanish. It'll write it out in Spanish, what is happening in picture A. So again, it doesn't go word for word, it's more like phrase by phrase. And they are learning. I mean, we don't speak Spanish in our house. None of us know Spanish. So for the little bit of exposure they do get, they are learning, which I do like. So we will continue with both of those programs next year. They also continued with Latin this year, and this year was a little bit slower in Latin. Not because they weren't getting it, but more because we had an issue with the two older ones basically skipping school. They would, instead of doing their work like they told us they were doing, they were not being truthful, and instead they were doing other things with that time, or just doing nothing at all. So that did put them behind in some of the books, but Latin is one of those things that it's okay to go slowly through. I don't feel like they have to complete an entire book in 1 year. It's not like a core subject, it's an elective. And on top of that, they're already doing Spanish as well, which for me, the most important foreign language that they can do and focus on is Spanish because of where we live. It's very multicultural, many Spanish speakers here. My family is Hispanic, but my mom didn't raise me speaking Spanish, so I'm not able to teach them Spanish on my own. I have to learn myself. I'm doing the Pimsleur CDs ahead of them, so that way I can test them on it. So Latin is definitely a little more slow this year. We're going to be continuing this same book into the next year until we finish it. I'm not going to try to force it and like speed it up or anything. We're just going to continue on with it, and it might take the rest of the year to finish this book. So we'll see how that goes. But I do like it. They are learning a lot of the Latin words, and it's sticking. So I really like that they're learning some of those old verbs and stuff. And also the Latin has like a lot of grammar as well, so it actually does help them with their English grammar, which maybe that's why they're breezing through their English grammar so much, is because they're kind of like getting a double dose of it, which is a good thing. For the older two in math, they are ending the year with this Saxon 7/6, which is like, I guess I don't know why they put 7. They told me it was a 6th grade level. So this is what they're finishing up with. Again, one of them is technically 7th grade and one of them is technically 5th grade, but they're both at this level. And they're breezing through this very quickly. They skip like the first 30-something lessons. I did notice that like the first 30-something lessons were just a review of what they had already learned in their previous books, which they were using Singapore US edition math for levels 5 and 4 at the beginning of this year because they were behind. So they hurried up and they basically tested out of that instead of going through all the lessons. So they tested out of the 4th grade level and the 5th grade level, and then they started this, which is the 6/7th grade level. And they tested out of the very beginning of this book as well. A lot of it was review. The next book I have here is The Mystery of History, and we do this as group work because I have the 2 first graders, the 5th grader, and the 7th grader. And I guess I kind of label them by what the grade they would be if they were still in public school, even though we're not following that, because they're higher and lower depending on the subject. But it just kind of, I guess that's the only school system I know, so it's easiest for me to distinguish like where they are. So we use this for all of them, and it does have questions and work that is for that complete age range from lower level to medium level. Now once the oldest one gets into high school, not next year but the following year, he'll probably have to switch off to another history at his own level, because this only goes up to like elementary and middle school level. But this was very slow going this year. We finished off Tapestry of Grace Ancient History at the beginning of the year, and we really did like that, but it was so super expensive. So I had to look for something that was a much better price point for me, but also I still wanted it to be in that chronological order of history from basically creation forward. So I wanted to go in order of the years of how things happened. And we've really been liking this one. The lessons aren't too long, the reading isn't too long. I did notice that. With the Tapestry of Grace, it was so much reading. That took up like the majority of our homeschool time because it was just so much. And while we did like it, I noticed that it was very repetitive because all the books that they suggested you read was like repeating the same stuff over and over. So while they did really get it and sink it in, I don't think that the constant repetition was really necessary for my boys because they tend to learn something very quickly, they get it, it sticks, and they're ready to move on. They don't really do well with too much review. Even with the Saxon Math, they're constantly like, I already did this. I'm like, yeah, but you still want to review it. I don't mind the review with the math because math is a constant building upon the lower level of foundation that you're building. But with something like history, I don't really find that that's necessary because they're going to constantly be learning these things again. So like we learned about Rome. My little ones are in first grade. I'm sure sometime between first grade and senior year, they're going to learn about Rome again in a deeper way. And they might not remember everything the first time they learned about Rome, but they'll remember some stuff and it'll come back to them. And then learning about it the second and third and maybe the fourth time will make it really stick. So I really have been liking the mystery of history for the 4 boys this year, and we're going to continue in this same book next year because we're still kind of at the beginning. And I do have the level 3 of mystery of history in case we do get through this book early in the year. We can continue on with history throughout the rest of the year, but this is what we'll be continuing to use, and I like it. It is written from a Christian's point of view, which I do like because it incorporates Christ and the gospel and into and through the lessons, which I would do anyway, but it kind of makes it a little easier for me not having to constantly remember like, oh yeah, this is in the Bible what was happening at this time, and it prompts me, it helps me to remember like, oh yeah, that was happening at this time with King Herod and baby Jesus and all this stuff, so then I can go into it deeper if I choose, and that would be not only history but also Bible as well. Whew. I'm getting winded. I'm sorry guys. I'm pregnant, 7 months, and this is a lot of talking. I'm almost done. The next thing I have here that we've really been enjoying, and this is we've been doing as a group as well, it's another foreign language. I know, right? I'm crazy. 3 foreign languages for the older boys, but they're getting it. It's sticking. And this we don't do every single day. This is when we do group work, and I try to do group work at least 3 times a week. So this is very quick as well. It comes with the DVD which we watch, and this handbook has all the hand gestures and what they mean, like true or be and stuff like that. So we watch the teacher on the DVD, and she teaches it, and I use this so that I can learn it, as well. I don't do so good with only watching or hearing. Like I need to read. I need to see something to learn. So the boys can also look at the book. They can listen to and watch the DVD. It just incorporates more ways of learning. We also practice within a group without the book or the DVD. And I've been learning it as well. So I know a lot of the signs that we've learned, not 100% of them, but we continue to review, and then we try to take the individual words that she teaches and put them into sentences. As we learn all of those words of a sentence, we'll then try to put it together in sentences or phrases. So we've been liking this. I really have. They kind of complain anytime we have to do any school, but once we start, they really like it. And I've noticed that sometimes when we're out and about, they'll like tap me on the shoulder and they'll do like a little hand gesture to me in sign language, or just one word of sign language, and it's like they act like they don't really like it, but they're learning it and they use it occasionally and they do enjoy it. Once we start it and the complaining is over with, they actually do enjoy their subjects because they literally complain for every single subject. My little one's favorite subject is math, but he complains every day about having to do math. My second youngest one is favorite subject seems to be science, but he complains every single day when I say, okay, come, let's do science. They're like, oh, I don't want to do school, but they always enjoy it. I guess I used to do the same thing as a kid in school too. I didn't want to do school, but I always enjoyed it. So for my two little ones, they're finishing up their first grade of school, but they're doing, in math, they're finishing up this first half of second grade math. This is the Singapore US edition 2A, which is like the first half of the second year math. And they're already learning multiplication and division. And I really like that. I remember when I was in public school, I don't think I started learning multiplication and division until I was at the end of my third grade year in public school. So for them to be learning this at the end of their technically first grade school year, I find that amazing. And at the beginning of the school year, I was like, there's no way they're going to understand how to do this by the end of this year. It's just too advanced. Multiplication is not for a 6 or 7-year-old. My two little ones are in the same grade because they're Irish twins. And I didn't think they'd be ready for it, but they are ready for it. And they're doing so well with their math. They've learned so much. I do occasionally supplement their math with the Easy Peasy website because they have math games and also iPad math games. They really enjoy doing those, and it reinforces what they're learning, but in a fun way, and in a fun way that they enjoy, because all my boys are like video game nerds. They love video games, even though I hate video games. But I don't mind them doing video games if they're learning games. So they do use that occasionally. Okay, two more books here, which are science for my 5th grader. We're using Apologia, Exploring Creation with Chemistry and Physics. He actually chose this for this year. Last year, he and the older one started Apologia Human Anatomy, and they both went through that year. And then I split them off into separate sciences, more for their age, appropriate age level, or academic readiness. My older one didn't have to stay behind in the lower grade science. He was ready to move ahead, and I want him to be where he should be, and even push past that if he can when he's ready. So he's really been liking this. I don't think it was what he initially expected, but he has been enjoying it. I think he expected to be actually mixing chemicals and stuff, but he's in 5th grade. I'm not going to let him mix chemicals that you would normally mix at like a junior or high school level in a lab in school. Some of those chemicals are very dangerous. I'm not risking putting my house on fire so that boy can play with chemicals. But it was a very good introduction to chemistry. He's learned a lot. He's enjoyed this. And it does have them mixing simple or safe chemicals. Like baking a cookie is a chemical reaction. You're adding flour and water and milk and chocolate chip cookies. These are different ingredients that you are mixing together, and then you're changing the composition of it with fire or heat, and you're getting a completely different or homogeneous cookie, which before it was individual ingredients. So he's learning the basics of chemistry. So the last science I'm doing with the little ones is Apologia, Exploring Creation with Zoology 2. Last year we did Zoology 1 as a group work because the little ones were just technically entering school, which was kindergarten. So we did Apologia 1 as a group, and I only read it aloud to the group, and the little ones learned so much. Man, it's crazy how they remember stuff. It's so amazing. They remembered so many things. And this year, I had the little ones do it. Not only listening to me read it, but also I got the junior notebooking journals with it so that they could color while I read, which helps them stay focused. And then after I read for about 5 or 10 minutes, which is usually about 1.5 pages to 2 pages, depending on how many pictures there are on the page or how interruptive they're being, they would write down 1 or 2 facts about something that I read, something that they learned. And then there would be other activities or workbook assignments in that notebooking journal. And while they complain about having to do schoolwork in their notebooking journal, they have really enjoyed it, especially the hands-on activities, the more fun activities in the book. They really enjoy. Some of them they haven't really enjoyed, and it's just been work, but I still have them do a lot of those that are just considered work and not fun or experimental or coloring, because life isn't always going to be fun and experimental in coloring. Sometimes you're going to genuinely have to buckle down and do something you just don't want to do, but it's necessary and you just got to get it done. That's called work, and I feel like they need to start learning that from very little, even 2 years old. You don't want to pick up your toys? Sorry, you just have to do it. That's life. Do it, and then you're free to play again. So, that's everything as far, I think, as far as books, actual curriculum that we have here in our hand. We also did some spelling. We did spelling, and I used gradespelling.com. That's from 1st grade to 8th grade spelling, completely free. We did Bible, which I use easy peasy, again, completely free. We did typing on typingtest.com, completely free for the older two. I will start typing with the little ones next year now that they're starting to show that they're ready, because when they do spelling, it's online, so they have to type, and they're starting to try to put their fingers in the proper position, so they will officially be starting typing next year. At least one of them for sure. He's definitely ready. What else online? I can't remember anything else online, but I will try to have a list or anything I miss in the description box below, and I will definitely link my video from the beginning of the school year of all of the complete comprehensive curriculum that I used for each grade. That video will be linked below, and also my homeschool organization and planner video will be linked below, because that was for the beginning of this homeschool year, and I will be doing a new one for the next homeschool year. So definitely check the description box for any links or anything that pertains to this topic that we're speaking of now. So with all of that said, and with me thoroughly out of breath right now, thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Please give a subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of my videos. Not only do I do homeschooling videos, but I do DIYs, cleaning, family vlog type of things, and recipes, just like a lifestyle mommy type of channel all around. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.